Hello, friends. Welcome in. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you with us. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock. That's high noon. Thank you for being here. Matt Murphy Show is entitled The Matt Murphy Show because I'm your host, and my name is Matt Murphy. I'm glad to be with you. Thank you for being with us. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope you dried out a little bit. We're going to talk a lot about the weather on the show today. What with all of the activity going on in eastern Tennessee, in North Carolina, and in particularly the northern half, well, all of the state of Georgia, but some of the hardest hit areas we'll identify over the course of the day today, because I think we need to focus on our brethren in the southeast a little bit because they are suffering mightily. And I don't necessarily, I mean, it's easy to say that it's not getting the coverage that perhaps it should get, although weekends sometimes disrupt a little bit of the coverage as it disrupts our own routines. But I'm seeing a good bit of coverage on the disastrous Hurricane Helene. And I've got to start the show. After I introduce the players of the show, I've got to start the show with an apology. So let me do that first. There's Ken Weaver back in the newsroom. He's gathering headlines as we speak, making sure that every headline that you need to know about, you're aware of, twice an hour and when news breaks. Hey, Ken.
Good afternoon, Brother Murphy. I almost said good morning.
Well, that's okay. A morning, afternoon, one way or the other. If I see you, it's a good day.
It's high noon.
How about my wife giving you a big bag of Chex Mix in the aftermath of the Oklahoma-Auburn game?
Erica is a sweetheart.
She is.
She is just a sweetheart.
She is, and she put on their good game.
And unfortunately, my family's not getting any.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Let's keep it on the DL.
Well, okay. Pardon me for saying anything. Hey, guys, I'm just kidding. If you're in the Weaver family, we're just playing radio.
Yeah, we're just playing
radio. We set that up at the beginning. There's no snacks.
Yeah.
There's Ken Weaver, Bell K, of course, behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. Choosing not, once again, as I ask him on a daily basis, to be a part of the television side of things, which is why we call him Headless Bell. Hello, Bell.
Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Never enough sleep.
Mm-hmm. Were you really asleep when I texted you yesterday?
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
I texted him this morning, Ken. I was like, hey, did you get my message from yesterday? He's like, you texted me yesterday? I was asleep. He didn't ask me when.
I was.
No. This is what happened, Bell. So I said, hey, did you get my message from yesterday? Because I was trying to set a couple things up. And he was like, you texted me yesterday? I was asleep. And I thought to myself, I didn't tell you when. And then he went and found it. Oh, okay, I got it now. And then he said again, I was asleep.
Yeah, I was asleep.
That's what I go, Brother Bell.
Good for
Get
you.
all that sleep you can, man.
Yeah, you need to, priorities, man. We got a big day tomorrow, and I know you'll be out there at Hop Springs with us, with bells on, Bell.
You would be incorrect.
Mm-hmm. Ken Weaver's coming.
I'm going to be out there.
Woo! I want everybody that felt pain for me on Saturday night to buy me a beer. So that I can be sloppy drunk when I go on Fox Nation after the debate.
Stone cold sober.
Or I might get nothing, Bell. That's true. For all of you Bama fans in the audience or any football fans in the audience, Georgia got their butts whooped. They made it a game in the second half, primarily in the fourth quarter, but it was a butt stomping. It was curb stomping. You cannot hand a team, any team, good or bad, 21 or 28 points, depending on the way you look at it, and expect to win a football game. But it was good to see that the Bulldogs did not give up and gave maximum effort in the second half to try to get back in that football game. And that is Sports on the Talk.
Let me tell you something. That second half is some of the best college football I've ever seen.
And I've
seen a lot of college football.
It is my understanding, Ken, from learned individuals like yourself and many, many others across this great Southeast and United States of America, that if you did not have a vested interest in the game, that it was mighty entertaining.
Yes.
That is my... For me, I was just...
Dude, the looks on those Bama fans' faces.
Well, I mean...
When the Dogs took the lead...
All of 13 seconds. It was a glorious, let me tell you, it was a glorious 13 seconds in the Murphy household, too. It was awesome. It was great. Dogs looking at me, my own dogs looking at me like I'm insane, this is finally it. He's gone crazy. He's going to grab a knife and kill everybody.
Oh, man.
It was good. That's why you love football. And
Absolutely.
hate to be on the losing end of that. You know, the Bulldog faithful, we have not had to experience a regular season loss in a long, long time.
About, 45 games?
Yeah, something like that. And, Bama is obviously our kryptonite. If that makes us Superman, so be it. I don't think we played like Superman on Saturday night, but we cannot beat the Alabama Crimson Tide to save our lives, and that is just a reality. And one of these days, we'll get over it and figure it out. But I'm more worried about Auburn this weekend than anything else. Who you got this weekend, Ken?
We have a bye this week, much needed bye. We need to rest up and get up against them Longhorns.
Let me tell you something about. Real quick, and we're not going to we got way too much to deal with talk football, but let me say one thing to you, Ken.
Okay.
And you know this because you know football. And you knew exactly what the Sooners were getting into when they entered the SEC.
Yeah.
But Jordan-Hare Stadium, I don't give a crap what type of team Hugh Freeze has put together on the other side. It is one of the toughest places in the FCC to play for the bowl, the fans, all of it. And you brought a freshman quarterback into Jordan-Hare, and he led them to victory. It was an incredible game, and that's all I'm going to say about that, lest I get in trouble at home.
I'll just say one more thing.
Okay.
That quarterback of ours is not going to be able to keep taking hits like that. We have got to get that fixed.
Well, it's just it's got a lot. I mean, it was an incredible ending to a game. If you missed it, we all were down 21-10, right?
We were down 21-10, and I thought it was over.
Yeah. Wow, man. Love football, embrace it. It's only around about college ball's only around about 4 months of the year, maybe 5 months of the year now with the college football playoffs. So we will continue to enjoy it, and there you go. We've got lots to get into today. I've got a lot to tell you about regarding the debate tomorrow night. We'll be out at Hot Springs, and we'd love to see you. But we're gonna and I've got an event happening tomorrow, and I got to tell you, I got to kind of signpost what's going to happen tomorrow because I'm here. I'm working tomorrow, but I will not make it back to the show in time to start the show, and I might be out for about half the show. But thankfully, we have left you in the capable hands of Debbie Matthews, who appears from time to time on our show. She has a show of her own in Columbia, Tennessee, and we love Debbie. Belle, you've worked with Debbie for a long time now.
Number of times, yeah.
And you know her from the show, and she's just a great voice in Tennessee, and she's going to do a fine job.
Sweetheart of a lady, too.
Wonderful lady. Just don't let her get my one admonishment to you, Kate. Don't let her get too crazy. You know what I'm talking about.
How in the hell is she going to top you?
Well, that's exactly right. I don't need the competition. So just
I don't think there's any competition.
Tell her to stay low key. So tomorrow I will be at Trousdale Prison for an event. Men of Valor is organizing an event at Trousdale Prison, and they were nice enough to invite me to the event, where we will enter into the prison, and we'll be joined by Tim Tebow, who is obviously a man of faith and a wonderful voice for the Christian way of life and getting men's minds and hearts right before they exit the prison programs that they might be in. And Tim Tebow is in our state. He's at an event tomorrow night that is now sold out by Men of Valor at Rocketown, and the plan was for him to go to Knoxville tomorrow night. I don't know if that plan is still in place because of some of the issues going on over there due to Hurricane Helene, but we'll find out together. Anyway, I'll be there at the beginning of the program that I'm a part of actually is like at 11 o'clock, and it should be wrapping up around noon, but it's about an hour drive. So I got to make accommodations for that. So Debbie was nice enough to step in, but it was an important enough event, and I want to be able to relate to you exactly what these men are going through and what we're seeing. Trousdale has had some slings and arrows thrown at it over the last several weeks and months regarding some of the issues happening there. There are activist organizations that are calling on Trousdale to be closed down or whatever, but I want to put some eyeballs on it. So,
is this event part of their, for lack of a better word, their normal curriculum? Are you going to see what they do, basically?
Well, no. They hold, weekly Bible study and classes and various activities on a weekly and monthly basis in a variety of prisons around the state. This is a special deal because Tebow's going to be there, but it is a part of their normal speakers tour where they have men coming in that can speak from a faith-based level about this. It's a pretty special thing that Tebow's in town.
But yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
To answer your question, but it's something that they do with a fair amount of regularity. So excited about that, and thank you for indulging us as I will be late to the show tomorrow. Hurricane Helene As of this hour, and the count is incredibly fluid because of the disaster that Hurricane Helene has wrought in many portions of the Southeast, we're dealing with 107 people dead. I'm going to tell you a personal story to start this, and then I'll give you some of the stats and facts and figures. We're going to speak to Mayor Glenn Jacobs at 1:35 this afternoon. He's obviously the mayor of Knox County, and he'll give us an assessment of what's happening from Knoxville east, because that is where most of the damage happened in Tennessee. North Carolina is just an absolute, portions of North Carolina, absolute disaster area, portions of Georgia, absolute disaster areas. So,
did I not see a tweet that Asheville is completely inaccessible except by air?
That is
yes.
correct.
Wow.
Cut off completely.
If you want to understand the severity of this storm and the severity of the situation, Asheville is not a itty-bitty, teeny-tiny town on the top of a hill or in the belly of a valley. Asheville is a town of almost 100,000 people. And, you know, obviously that's largely built around tourism and the Biltmore and the artistic community that it is. Asheville, North Carolina, a town of almost 100,000 people, you could not get there if you wanted to by car or by any motorized vehicle that has to roll on the ground. The only way that you can access Asheville is through air, or I imagine there might be waterways that are potentially navigable, but by air, essentially, to provide aid and assistance to the hundreds of thousands of people that have been impacted by this storm in that one area alone. Ken Weaver, you were the first one that I saw to put this out. If you've not seen the comparison photos of Chimney Rock, North Carolina before the accident, or before the hurricane, and Chimney Rock, North Carolina after the hurricane, oh my goodness. I mean, there's no more Chimney Rock, North Carolina.
No,
it's gone.
It's gone, and it's absolutely heartbreaking because it's close to my family's heart, because that's where we went for vacation in May, and I mean, it was one of the most wonderful family vacations we've ever had. A lot of the structures that were there are no longer there, and that community. You know, what you do in Chimney Rock is you rent a house that is on the other side of that river. So those folks who own those houses or who were in those houses, they're cut off too. They're not going anywhere until that water goes down. But, it absolutely, there was a television station, I think, out of Charlotte that posted that photo, and, I mean, it just blew me away.
No, it does break your heart, Ken. We're getting told on the membersnutrition.com super text line you're welcome to be a part of the show either via the phone lines or the super text line 615-737-9986, that there have been 2 main roadways that have been opened up in Asheville as of 12:19 in the afternoon, Central Time, Middle Tennessee time. If that is the case, then thank you for the update. 4440, I appreciate you. Obviously, I don't want to provide incorrect information. I do know that this was information that we were being provided as of last evening. So if that's the case, thank you so much for the update. Fluid situation all the way around, no pun intended, with regard to the amount of water that came down in the North Carolina mountains and in the mountains of North Georgia. So really quickly, by the way, it's episode 662. It's Locks for Trump Day 212. Join us on Super Talk TV to see how that's going. Locks for Trump, my commitment to Donald Trump and the United States of America. I'm not cutting my hair till we have a new president-elect. I made that commitment when Joe Biden was still in the race, so there was a danger I'd have to do this until 2028. Thankfully, that will not be the case, but if Trump wins, I'm growing it out till Inauguration Day at least. It is also 35 days until the election. Episode 662, quickly on Super Talk TV, is entitled Belkay.
Matt Murphy, he beats up his friends because he loves them, I think.
Is that a reference to me and Cameron?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a reference to you.
It wears me out.
You as an individual.
Oh,
I remember the first time you and I disagreed on something, you started shouting me down, and I looked at you and I went, why are you yelling at me? And you had this great pause, and you were like, I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm yelling at you.
Well, because I don't like people I like being wrong. That's why. I'm trying to give you tough love to create the error of your ways. If you want to see Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, it's brought to you in part by U.S. Pest, and we appreciate you guys being over there. Thank you so much. All right, real quick, I have to take a break. I tell you what, I'll do this first break, And then I want to tell you about my weekend with regard to Helene and how some of this descended on me. It's a personal story, and it's frankly somewhat of an embarrassing one. But I'm going to tell it to you anyway, because I can understand how when we live in our own worlds and we have a field of vision that only goes out so far, sometimes we don't see the full picture. Sometimes we have blinders on and we don't understand what's going on outside of our field of vision. And I felt that way Saturday night while I was enjoying a football game. And I'll tell you the story just a moment from now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you already know that you need foundation repair in your home, or if you have structural issues that have led to water coming into your home, then you ought to know who to call. But if you don't, I've got the solution for you, friends. It's USS, United Structural Systems. USS says they guarantee their best, and they do every single day for the last 30 years. They were started in 1994, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, as well as some outlying areas, and they can serve you. Over 25,000 satisfied customers have already called USS. If you're unsure about whether or not your issues in your home lead to the foundation or lead to waterproofing issues, then make the call. They're not going to upsell you on things you don't need. That's not what they do at USS. They are problem solvers. So if you go to USSTN.com, you can find out more about your need. With all of the water that's come down over the last, 2 weeks or so, it's time to call if you have a musty or moldy smell in your basement or crawl space. USSTN.com. USS. They guarantee their best. 615-488-7855. 488-7855 for USS. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy and Savory Spice on my mind. I was there this past Friday. Absolutely love the location. Right in downtown Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Love the people. Holly and David are good folks. They've got another location in Nashville as well, in L&L Market, with the same beautiful spices, the same incredible aromas, and the same low prices on the best product in the industry. Savory Spice. Now, they have the Spice and Easy line that they're going to be presenting tomorrow night at our big debate. They're going to be out and they're going to be handing out samples of the Savory Spice and Easy products. I absolutely love this. It's so easy. For those of you in the kitchen that don't really know your way around that well, they do it for you and they make it so easy. Hence the name Spice and Easy from Savory Spice. Let's go ahead and get over to Savory Spice and restock those spices that you are in need of, or if you're in need of some tailgating stuff, or fall season is here, pumpkin pie spice is here as well. Savory Spice in the Square in Franklin, or L&L Market in Nashville. Tell them I sent you to Savory Spice.
Helene death toll keeps climbing. The chemical fire is out near Atlanta for now. And Trump assassination update at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So really quickly, I want to give you a lowdown of what we're talking about with regard to Hurricane Helene and, my slow roll realization. So we did the show on Friday and we saw it blasting through, and we knew that we'd get the typical power lines down, the trees down, and large amounts of rain. With it blowing through in the manner that it did, I was comforted that if this thing goes fast, it's not going to cause this torrential flooding in Georgia like we thought might be possible. And I got a lot of people in Georgia being from the Augusta area and growing up in a small town called Thompson, Thomson, no P in Thompson. So it was my era. Because what this did, the fast-moving nature of the storm and the size and the strength of the storm meant that by the time it got to areas in middle Georgia, like in east to middle Georgia, like, Savannah, of course, which is a little south, and then Augusta along the Savannah River, and just to the west of Augusta lies Thompson, where I grew up, where I was born, in McDuffie County Hospital. So I did not fully understand the severity of the storm that had hit my small hometown. I thought, okay, wind and, some trees down and it's all good. But because of the speed that it came into the state with, it was still, I think it was a Category 3 hurricane when it hit Statesboro. And it was still a hurricane when it hit Thompson. And Thompson, Georgia is inland enough that they're not necessarily prepared for all of that. And then as it continued to move north, it then had the strength and still had the rain and the stamina involved in it that it dumped so much rain in so little time on North Carolina, and it still had winds that were high enough that they could knock down trees, that it decimated, 5 separate state road bridges here in Tennessee alone. It has devastated portions of North Carolina, and that is a flooding issue more than anything up there. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm praying for the best. And I'm not really seeing the worst. And I admit that. I didn't have my blinders on. And we're having a good time on Saturday afternoon watching college football. I'm having a good time anticipating the Georgia-Alabama game. And I know that I call her my mama because she's kind of like my adopted mother in Thompson, who helped me get into college and everything. I'm doing my thing on social media as I do during football games, during Georgia games. I go crazy. I'm highs and lows of emotion. Oh, we're the awesomest. We're the best. Oh, we suck. We don't even deserve to be on a field. That kind of thing. And as I'm doing that and people are responding to it on social media, there was a response to something that I had put up that had just stopped me kind of in my tracks. And two things happened almost simultaneously. One, I got a text from a friend of mine that said, Thompson's pretty bad. No power, no cell service, no water. And I'm like, no, I didn't realize that it was that bad. And then in a response to some jaw-jacking between Alabama and Georgia about the football game, I get this message from my kind of adopted mother in Thompson, and I had already asked her if she was okay, and she had told me she was, but she said, I'm just thankful for the Alabama power trucks that I'm seeing come into our neighborhoods because we're hopeful that we can have power by next Friday. And it shamed me. Now, I'm not saying that we can't have a good time on our weekends, and I'm not saying that we can't enjoy our lives in the midst of natural disaster or tragedy, but it shamed me because it is my hometown. And I was a little bit embarrassed that I was sitting in my house with my electricity, with my big screen TV, while the place that I grew up that showered me with love and helped my grandparents and my family build my foundation was destroyed. And so I'm going to do everything on the show today to try to make that right in terms of reminding you how to give and reminding you that our friends and neighbors to our east are suffering right now, not just in Thompson and Augusta, not just in Augusta and Statesboro, not just in Statesboro and Valdosta, not just in Valdosta but Milledgeville, not just in Milledgeville but Chimney Rock, not just in Chimney Rock but Boone, not just in Boone but Asheville, not just in Asheville but Newport, not just in Newport. I mean, all along that corridor, our friends are suffering. And we need to be reminded of that. Okay, I know I'm late. Let's get to Ken Weaver in the newscast. And we'll get to your telephone calls in just a moment. And I'll tell you some of the stories that we're learning about how we can help and apparently how we can't because the federal government's keeping a lot of people out of these areas. We'll talk about that next.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And right now, the Hurricane Helene death toll is up to 107 across several states, including Tennessee. Rescue operations persist in North Carolina and East Tennessee and other areas. President Biden pledging every available federal resource to the survivors.
I want them to know we're not leaving until the job is done. I also want you to know I'm committed to traveling to the impacted areas as soon as possible.
As probably Wednesday or Thursday. Right now, the death toll in Tennessee is 4, with more than 100 still missing. A fire at a biolab facility in Conyers in Rockdale County, Georgia, is now out. The evacuation has not been lifted. This is the fire chief, Marion McDaniel, on the nature of that fire.
We're fighting the fire with water, but the water is also aggravating the chemical, so it's a twofold. But we were able to get the fire under control.
Yeah, still a little smoldering there. Trump assassination attempt update. The man charged in Florida faced arraignment in federal court this morning.
The arraignment lasted just 5 minutes. Through his attorneys, Ryan Ruth pleaded not guilty to each of the 5 counts against him. Those charges include attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, a count that could lead to a life term in federal prison. The case now heads to the courtroom of Judge Eileen Cannon, who dismissed the classified documents case against Trump in a ruling over the summer that the Justice Department now aims to overturn on appeal.
And right now in the Middle East, more U.S. troops headed that way. The Pentagon saying, quote, a few thousand more troops in case we need to help defend Israel. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Men of Valor, we talked to you about this wonderful organization and everything they do for our community through the prison system. And it's an effort that is largely unsung, considering that, oftentimes we say, well, you do the crime, you do the time, and that's right. And Men of Valor believes in that as well. But did you know that 90% of the men that go into prison will be let out, and 50% will probably return to prison within 3 years, unless there is something that intervenes in their life, unless they're given hope, unless they're given a vision for a future that doesn't have crime in it. And that is what Men of Valor does. Men of Valor believes in this because of the power of God and the power of God's people. Men of Valor needs volunteers, godly men like you, like me, to help in their prisons and at their campuses for aftercare reentry services. And you can do so by offering your services as a job partner, a Bible study teacher, a mentor, to disciple men in their everyday lives and to help them see a better way and a better path forward to become contributing members to society. And it works. It so works. Go to movministry.com. That's movministry.com to find out what you can do for the good organization of Men of Valor. It's Men of Valor. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, here till 3. The Drive with Brian Wilton at that time. It's part of live and local coverage. By the way, our thoughts and prayers and all of those things, good tidings go out to the Mandis family. Dan is out this morning. Chris Hand capably filling in during Nashville's morning news due to the birth of his grandchild, which is happening who knows when. I don't know when. I don't know if it's happened or happening right now, but we're thinking about him. And Dan told me via text over the weekend that he thought he might be out tomorrow morning, but he's coming back by tomorrow evening to be a part of the debate watch party. So one way or the other, we're thinking about the Mandis family, one big happy family on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Tennessee Department of Transportation is moving quickly with repairs to infrastructure damaged by Hurricane Helene, notably the collapsed portion of I-40 near the Tennessee-North Carolina border. And another handful of bridges have also washed away. I'm going to give you some updates on that coming up in just a moment. Asheville, North Carolina was cut off from all road traffic. We're now being told, and I confirmed it over the break, that there is at least one, if not two, ways in and out of Asheville now as some of these floodwaters slowly but surely begin to recede, leaving behind them an absolute war zone. Looks like a war zone. Our own Jay Harper was cut off from his son for a hot minute. Jay Harper's son, who is well capable, obviously. He's a graduate of the Citadel and who is I don't know if he's a doctor or a medic. I don't know exactly what he does at the hospital in Asheville, but he lives in Asheville and is a part of the medical team over there and was giving some reports back to Jay Harper. So we're thinking about those folks over there as well and anyone affected by the storms.
Did you see any of the pictures of I-40 where it got washed out?
Mm-hmm.
That's just unbelievable to me.
I don't know.
It's just gone.
And look, I'm just some knucklehead with a radio show, right? And I'm sitting there looking at these photos thinking, okay, how do you repair that? I don't understand.
Well, not only that, when the ones I saw, because 40 in that section is 2 lanes going both ways. And I looked at the barrier. I'm like, well, I guess you just make the other lane. But then I thought, well, there's no way they can't guarantee that's not going to collapse out.
Well, that's right. I thought the same thing, right? Well, temporarily, you just make it a 1 lane either way, and you utilize that. I guess that would be the eastbound lanes or the westbound. I don't know which perspective it's coming from, but there's the Pigeon River on one side that completely washed away a portion of the interstate. So you make those 2 lanes, you just make them either way. But you're like you say, Bell, you got to go in there and make sure that that's not going to fall over when it gets weight on it too. And you have no guarantee that that's going to happen. So that all of that obviously is going to take time. To discuss this, open phone lines, by the way, 615-737-9986. Rick is in Franklin. Hey, Rick.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm
First
well,
of all,
Rick.
Congratulations to Dan. I've got a quick, I'll be short, I've got a quick request. As you stated earlier, the people in and around Augusta are in really, really bad shape. My late father's family farm is in a community named Hepzibah, which you may well know.
I know Hepzibah well.
Well, they're out on Story Mill Road in Hepzibah. My uncle is the current owner of that farm. He's lived his whole life taking care of every square foot of that small 150 acres like it was a child. They've lost everything they own. Every tree on that farm, they got hit by a tornado. Every tree on that farm is down. His house is destroyed. All of his vehicles are destroyed. He has one side-by-side runaround and one tractor. He's currently trying to cut his way out. But any prayers that the prayer warriors in the Super Talk Nation can offer up for the people in and around Augusta would be much appreciated.
Well, we're doing everything we can from our perspective. And obviously, and what I try to tell people, because I know some, and thank you, Rick, for the call. I know some people like certain charity organizations. I know that, in non-perilous times, we have talked in the past about how the American Red Cross manages its money. And, there's some that are frustrated with some of the overhead. But let me tell you something. In times of natural disaster, there's no better mobilized organization than the American Red Cross. There just isn't. And what I'm frustrated about, and I'm going to dive into a little bit more in the 1 o'clock hour, the structural component of government involved in this oftentimes stops opportunities for neighbors to help neighbors. I witnessed this, the biggest natural disaster that I've ever been a part of. I've been a part of several hurricanes in my past, in my radio life and in my personal life. Living in Alabama, we got popped by a couple of them when I was there. I covered some of those storms when I was there. But the biggest natural disaster, without question, that I've ever been a part of was April 27th, 2011, when numerous tornadoes touched down all across the southeast, killed 252 people in the state of Alabama alone. And the power was out for some portions of the state of Alabama for a month. And I saw an incredible, firsthand, I saw an outpouring of what it is to be an American, what it is to be a Southerner in America, if I can just regionalize it a little further, because I do believe that we treat these things a little bit differently. And I was on radio we did our small part at the radio station that I worked for in Birmingham, Alabama, and we were just trying to coordinate effort. In the first 48 to 72 hours, we were on air just trying to find the hardest hit places and the places where people needed it the most, and to provide the energy and the information by which individuals could get to those people. The federal government wasn't there. The state governments weren't there. Local governments in some cases were. And as tragic as the situation was, I'll tell you a quick story. And this is the absolute truth. And it sounds dramatic. It sounds like a scene out of a movie, but it is the absolute truth. We got a call the night, April 27th, that evening. We were on air, obviously, and our radio station was on air for 2 weeks solid with continuous coverage. Because where do you go in times of these tragedies? By the way, please, 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 and I'm not saying this because it is self-serving. I'm saying it because it is true. And I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, Kelly Evans, over in Thompson, Georgia, and I asked her what she needed, and she said nothing, and we were talking about the disaster that happened, and she said, if it were not for radio, I don't know that we would have been able to communicate, because all of the cell phone towers were down, all cell signals were down, all electricity is down. Then where do you go to mass communicate information? You go to the radio. And if you don't have a battery-powered radio, a traditional standard transistor radio that is powered by batteries, then in the event of long-term loss of power, long-term loss of water, long-term loss of electricity, once that cell phone dies, what do? Well, you don't have a way to get information, and you get information through radio. So we have gone to a largely digitized society, and with that comes big-time gaps when the electricity goes out. We need to remind ourselves of that and understand that, and I don't say it because it's self-serving, I say it because it's true. Radio is here for you in those times because we do not depend on wires. We do not depend on electricity in a lot of cases if you have that battery-powered radio. So please have that, and as long as we have breath in our bodies, we're going to provide you the needed information that you need. So all that to say, we got a call. We were on air at 10 o'clock that night, and this is 4 hours after the storms had gone through, and we got a call from a woman, and I'll never forget it. On the line, on the call screening software, which is very similar to the one we have in our studio here at Super Talk, I saw woman says husband is trapped. And we took that call, and it was from a woman in a home. The home had been destroyed. She was still in the house 3.5 hours after the storm came through. And she said, I'm with my husband. I'm okay. He's alive, but he can't get his leg out of the house. A beam of the house fell. And I was like, he's there with you now. Yes, he's there I couldn't believe it. We luckily were able to connect EMT workers and connect firefighters to this woman. And they got to her house and saved her husband's life. He was slowly bleeding to death, and he lost his leg in that tragedy. And I get choked up. I had nothing to do with any of this.
But he probably would have been dead if it wasn't for your call. He probably
would have been, and that's what he told us when he called us about a month later. He said, if it hadn't been for you guys getting the people to our house, I would have died. And I get choked up thinking about it. But it ain't about me, and it's not about the radio station. It's about neighbors helping neighbors. I cannot tell you the number of telephone calls that we took where somebody would say, hey, my grandmother lives at so-and-so address. She's okay. She's got trees across her yard, but she doesn't have electricity, and she needs her insulin. Or she doesn't have electricity, and she's got to get to, a doctor's appointment, whatever it might be. She needs her medication. And before we would get off the phone with those people, there would be a line of people on the line going, I got a pickup truck, I got a brother, and I got 2 chainsaws. Where are they? We're on the way. We're on the scene. Now, I don't say all of this just to relate old stories to you. Because about a week into this, about a week into helping people and raising money and raising goods and getting bottled water to the right places and getting out to places that had been devastated like Tuscaloosa and Concord and Huntsville. I'll never forget any of these towns. Some of them are gone forever. Pratt City's gone forever and Concord is gone forever. These are small towns. Chimney Rock is now gone forever. The federal government showed up. And I understand they bring blank checks but they also bring processes and regulation and administration and red tape. And everything changed after the federal government showed up. And I'm not saying it changed for the better. We have people right now in Tennessee and in North Carolina and in Georgia and in other places affected that want to go help the people that are suffering right now that aren't being allowed to do so because the federal government tells them they can't go in. Now, I understand, and I'm not a fool. I get that these things have to be managed, and we have to manage against looters. We've got this story. I'm following the story. I know the story. 8 looters. These SOBs that have no business being in our country, it appears, much less in our state, much less in Washington County, caught looting over there. I got the story. We've got to manage that and watch out for that. But at the same time, there has to be a way to allow neighbors to help their neighbors, because that's what the American spirit is all about. I don't pretend that I have all the answers for this. But it's important to ask the question, why is the federal government preventing people from trying to help other people? I'll play you the clip in just a moment, the specific clip of what I'm talking about. It is 52 after on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Our friends at U.S. Pest are thinking about all of the lives affected in East Tennessee, in North Carolina, as well as in Georgia, and their hearts and their prayers go out to all of those individuals affected. They also want to positively impact your life at U.S. Pest when it comes to pest control. You know, we've reached the fall, and it's about to get cool, and when it gets cool, I call that spider season, and I hate spiders. I can't tell you how much I despise a spider. I know, I've heard it all. They take care of bugs, man. Whatever. I'll take care of the bugs, too, with U.S. Pest. U.S. Pest will take care of all of it. You don't need spiders when you got U.S. Pest. Spiders come in, and they take care of all of the bugs that the spiders supposedly take care of, and then they take care of the spiders. And everybody's happy, at least in my household. What about you? U.S. Pest can take care of those common Tennessee house pests that are a nuisance or literally endangering the health and safety of your family. Full-service pest control, termite protection, and crawl-space service offered at U.S. Pest. You call the best. You called U.S. Pest at 590-1260. That's 615-590-1260 or uspest.com.
Helene death toll keeps climbing. Chemical fire is out near Atlanta for now. Trump, Florida assassination attempt update. Israel intends to put boots on the ground in Lebanon. All this and more at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Man, oh man, that's a lot. Ken Weaver's coming up in mere seconds on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll continue talking to you about the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Joe Biden has a few thoughts. He made an appearance outside of Air Force One. Yeah, they asked Joe Biden, hey, any additional resources from the federal government? And Joe said, nah. I'm not making that up. That's what he said. No. I'll play the clip coming up after Ken Weaver's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stand in.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now, the Hurricane Helene death toll has climbed to 120. This is across Tennessee, North Carolina, several other states. President Biden pledging every available resource to help.
President Biden says Helene wasn't just a catastrophic storm, it was historic, with damage across at least 10 states.
Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved ones are okay.
The president said he wants people in the impacted region to know the federal government will not abandon them.
I've directed my team to provide every available resource as fast as possible to your communities to rescue, recover, and to begin rebuilding.
So again, the death toll across several states stands at 120. That is 4 in Tennessee. There are still at least 100 people missing in East Tennessee. A fire at a biolab facility in Conyers in Rockdale County, Georgia, is now out. It started at 5:30 Sunday morning, initially contained, but then reignited around noon, sending ominous plumes of hazardous smoke into the sky, as we hear from Steve Onsunsame.
Clouds of burning chemicals filled the sky in Conyers, Georgia for most of the day Sunday, and people miles away could see what looked like skyscrapers of smoke. Authorities shut down the busy interstate nearby, backing up traffic in both directions for hours. Families who agreed to leave spent the night in makeshift shelters.
Yeah, there's still some smoke coming from this building, but they say the flames are out. The evacuation has not been lifted. A man charged with trying to kill former President Trump at Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club faced arraignment in federal court this morning. Lasted just 5 minutes. Through his attorneys, Ryan Ruth pleaded not guilty to each of the 5 counts against him. And right now in the Middle East, Israel on the attack and with the momentum.
Israeli leaders making it clear they are preparing for a ground offensive into southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. That after thousands of reserve soldiers were sent to the north. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant telling combat troops at the border that all forces, quote, including you, will be used to safely return Israelis to their homes in the north. U.S. and Israeli sources telling ABC News IDF special forces are already carrying out limited incursions into southern Lebanon to gather intel.
That is Jordana Miller reporting. More U.S. troops are headed that way, by the way. The Pentagon saying a few thousand more troops in case, quote, we need to help defend Israel. Moderna has vaccinated the first person in the final phase of clinical trials for its norovirus vaccine. Every year, norovirus kills an average of 900 Americans, mostly adults over the age of 60. That, Moderna says, is why it hopes to enroll 25,000 people, many of them seniors, in phase 3 clinical trials of its norovirus vaccine. If found safe and effective, it could reduce vomiting, diarrhea, and foodborne illnesses that sicken an estimated 20 million people nationwide. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Gentlemen, let's talk about that energy level, right? Are you feeling run down? Do you not feel as energetic as you once did? Do you not know why it is? Are you chasing energy with caffeinated beverages or with some other type of energy boost? Well, what if I told you that there was a way to figure out what's going on inside of that body of yours? And I understand how men are. We don't like to go to the doctor, and we don't like to talk about blood work and blood pressure and cholesterol or T levels or that sort of thing. But at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, they understand they've got to figure out what's going on inside so they can fix it. And yes, gentlemen, I'm not ashamed to tell you, and you shouldn't be ashamed of this either, that this will manifest itself, if left unchecked, in the bedroom, and it's going to cause you intimacy issues down the road. Time to get that corrected with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go find out more at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or schedule an appointment today at 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for our friends at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs in about 30 minutes to give us an assessment of what's happening on the eastern side of the state of Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee impacted by this storm, Hurricane Helene, some of the after effects becoming very clear over the course of the weekend. We're discussing it on the Matt Murphy Show. Clearly, we understand that we have a presidential contest going on. We got a vice presidential debate. Sounded like Joe Biden for a minute there. Vice presidential debate happening tomorrow night. We've got a big event with our partners at Hop Springs. Thanks to the Glock Store sponsoring the event. It starts at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon with Brian Wilson. The gang all there at 6 o'clock formally until 8. Fox Nation will be there with names that you know and love. We're told not to say these names. I cannot tell you whether or not Pete Hegseth will be there. I can't. I cannot tell you some of the other names that I've heard that might be there. He lives in Goodlettsville, I think. Goodlettsville, Hendersonville.
That's right. I knew
up in there
from around here.
He's on with Brian Wilson on a weekly basis.
Yeah, regularly.
Yeah, on a regular basis. So he lives right around here. I can't tell you if he's going to be on Fox Nation tomorrow night. But they'll be there, and we'll be there. And sadly, they don't have anybody else to ask, and I think they've asked me to be on. I guarantee, by the way, can I just go ahead and make a guarantee? Sure. A Murphy guarantee, much like my Georgia victory guarantee last week, I guarantee that this one will be right, too. I get bumped. What do you want to bet?
What do you base that on? Why?
I don't know. I just always think I'll get bumped. That's the way I think, too, I just always think I'll get bumped.
But didn't they make a point of really wanting somebody local?
Sure.
But you know what'll happen is
Ken and I think too much alike.
Man. What happens is they're going to get there. They're going to be hanging out a little bit and go, well, let's get that Wilson guy instead.
Well, no, they're going to be there and they're going to say, hey, find Murphy. Let's get him over here and see how he's going to look on camera. And then when I get over there, they're going to, hey, we got a lot going on, man.
We're really busy. They'll sneak hand in behind you.
Oh, man. That would burn the worst.
Let's get the pretty boy on.
Let's get the pretty one with the nice-looking beard going on. And I shaved my goatee for this. I did.
I think you're looking pretty sharp there, Brother Murphy.
Well, thank you, Ken Weaver. I appreciate that. That means a lot coming to the goateed one like yourself. I think they ought to get Weaver over there. And I would, you know what? I would give a lot of money to have them set up this big, long question and have Ken Weaver. I just do the news, boys.
Boys, I just do the news. Now, what is it you think you boys are trying to pull here?
Hey, Fox Nation, I just do the news over here. I don't know what y'all are doing, but I'm doing the news. Stop the steal.
They show me at a corner table arm wrestling somebody.
Award-winning news director Ken Weaver, and you got a beer in one hand, and you're just pulling the goddamn.
There's like 8 empty cups and a half empty cup, and I'm arm wrestling people.
And you're just without a shirt on. Yeah, it's the way we do it in Tennessee, boys. It's the way we take care of it. I can do this and do the news at the same time.
Goodness.
We're going to have fun. I promise you that.
Absolutely.
We will absolutely have fun. So here's the deal. We're talking Hurricane Helene, obviously, but we've got other things going on as well. And sometimes these two issues intercede, like in this clip. Now, I understand that Joe Biden's singing a different tune today because his handlers got to him and told him to sing a different tune. But Joe Biden was caught yesterday getting on Air Force One. And they were like, Mr. President, what about this natural disaster that's happening and affecting major portions of the United States of America? I know it's not New York. I know it's not Chicago. I know it's not L.A., but it's pretty serious, Mr. President. What do you say?
Yes, it's tragic. As a matter of fact, we're trying to get the exact number. My FEMA advisor is on the ground in Florida right now. There's a distinction between the numbers that FEMA's used and the ones that are used by the locals. So
Joe Biden can't figure out how many people have perished in this storm. As reported by Ken Weaver moments ago, the number is up to 120. Let's continue. There's a follow-up question regarding resources, and listen to how the president answers.
It really is amazing. You saw the photographs. It's stunning.
It's unbelievable. But it really is. Such a wide area.
It's nice of the media to assist aged Joe Biden as he attempts to collect his thoughts, referring to the photographs that he's seen of the disastrous event. It's such a wide area, the reporter said. It is, he said.
Giving them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No. And the woman said any more resources the federal government would be giving then. Any more resources?
Be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet.
Well, his initial response was just no. Any more resources available? No, he said. We've already given them stuff, even though they didn't ask for it. The last portion of that answer is the most interesting to me. And I think it is a fool's errand to try to dissect what Joe Biden is thinking at any given moment, because I don't believe he knows. But there's a little bit of wraparound anger in her having the audacity to ask the question, isn't there? Even though they didn't ask for it yet, we gave it to them. So shut up. I mean, how hard is it to say we're going to do everything that we can within our power to help the people affected by this storm? Everything. Instead,
no, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Okay. Well, there you go. No more resources for you. The government's already given everything that it can give. Now, that tune has changed as of today, when obviously his staffers, the people that are actually in control of our United States government right now, got a hold of that clip. They realized how bad it looked, and they have tried to repair that. Have you seen the photograph of Kamala Harris, by the way, on the plane?
No, I have not.
It's pretty good.
Did you tweet it?
Yeah, I did. So Kamala Harris put out this. This was yesterday at 10 o'clock in the evening. Vice President Harris, I was just briefed by FEMA and Deanne Crystal on the latest developments about the ongoing impacts of Hurricane Helene. We also discussed our administration's continued actions to support emergency response and recovery. I also spoke with North Carolina Governor Cooper. Hey, have you spoke to Bill Lee? I don't know. About the ongoing rescue and recovery efforts in North Carolina. Have you spoke to the governor of Georgia? They have affected people there too. Our administration will continue to stay in constant contact with state and local officials to ensure communities have the support and resources they need. Doug and my thoughts are with all of those who lost loved ones and those whose homes, businesses, and communities were damaged or destroyed during this disaster. And then there's a picture of a studious-looking Vice President Kamala Harris, who's hard after it. It looks like she's got a pen in hand. She's taking down notes. She's got a phone there in front of her. She has a coffee cup there. Must be some coffee on the brew. Long night for Vice President Kamala Harris. She's got one of her hands, her left hand is resting, her head resting on her hand as she writes notes there with all of that paperwork in front of her. It looks like she's very busy. She's got an earbud in there, Belle. Earbud right there in her ear. She wears those corded earbuds, and she's got a phone there on the table. And that earbud, she must be, this must be a photograph of her in the midst of a call, a very important call, briefed by FEMA Director Deanne Criswell. Unfortunately, her earbuds are not plugged into the phone at all.
That's how good she is of a candidate. She doesn't need them plugged in. She just pulls the information out of the atmosphere via her buds.
Yeah. So obviously a photo opportunity for the vice president. Somebody, by the way, having been around this garbage long enough, and look, I want everybody that needs help to get help. I want neighbors to be able to help their neighbors. More on that in a moment. But someone said, we forgot to get a photo. We need to get a photo. Can you sit back down and get the photo? And she sat back down and she picked up a pen and she looked like she was writing something down and she looked like she was on a phone call and they took a photo of her. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. So stop it with the performance art and try to get to work for the betterment of the American people if that is possible.
Can you imagine how many famous photos have you seen where the photographer in the moment just captured a piece of history? And now we have this where we're going to stage it and set it up and make it look like something important was happening. Do photographers even do their actual journalistic jobs anymore?
I mean, no. I mean, but sadly, journalists have always had a propensity to, look, it's not new. They covered up the fact that Franklin Delano Roosevelt couldn't walk. Okay, so, and every journalist that covered the White House in the 1930s and 1940s knew that Franklin Delano Roosevelt couldn't walk.
Talk about this.
But you just don't talk about it because this is different, though, because this is set up to be the moment. And it's not the moment. It's just...
that shot of Trump after the assassination attempt where he's got his arm raised and there's blood. That photographer literally captured a moment of history. Couldn't have staged it if he wanted to. And that's what we get versus this.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So the reporters aren't actually giving us a sense of what the federal government is or is not doing, and they're not going to. Josh writes in and says, what is a journalist? I mean, that's a great question nowadays. I think it's more and more difficult to understand what is journalism and what is not journalism. Out of Tullahoma, it's Bonnie's turn. Thank you for calling, Bonnie. How are you? Hey, Bonnie. Hello? Hey, you there?
Think she's ordering her hamburger.
Must be. I mean, it is lunch. Just after. What do you think she's getting?
Sonic double meal.
I'd go with the number 2.
Number 2 with bacon.
Oh, with
and onion rings instead of French fries.
See, and I haven't been to a Sonic. What? No, you don't get fries at Sonic. You get tater tots, man.
No, onion rings.
Yeah, onion rings pretty good too. I mix them with the tots.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with a mix. But it used to be. I haven't been to a Sonic long enough. Hey, Bonnie, you there yet? No, not yet. Okay, so Ken, I was saying, it used to be the number 1 and the number 2. Like the number 1 was mustard and the number 2 was mayo, or the number 1 was mayo. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I think they've changed that, though.
Yeah.
I think that's swapped up. So if you really like mayo on your burger, you went with one. If you like mustard on your burger, you went with another. And bacon is always an option on anything.
Whew. Yes, sir.
Okay, hold on.
I would go as far as to say bacon's a requirement on everything.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that. Y'all hold on for a second. Men, hold on. Hey, Bonnie, you there yet? Bonnie? Hello? Huh. I mean, it's like she's there. Hey, Bonnie, have you been captured? Is Bonnie in a well?
Blink twice if you're okay.
Has Bonnie been put in a trunk somewhere? Gosh, I hope not.
Hold on. Hey, sir.
Hey, is this Bonnie?
Yes, I was just, I'm down here near Jack Daniels, and I was speaking to these two girls from England.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good, Bonnie. We got all the time in the world. What's on your mind?
Y'all just look around.
Yeah, just tell them. Tell them to pick me up a bottle of that Jack Fire and bring it up here to Nashville. Would you, Bonnie?
Hey, I gave someone some stuff like that before.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be having a friend and be drinking some of that.
Sure. Wow.
Gosh, anyway, oh gosh. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, have you?
What are you trying to say, Bonnie?
Oh gosh. Okay. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow in Murfreesboro.
Well, I hope so too.
So have you heard the theory of maybe they can actually make these hurricanes happen with some type of device? It's some type of theory that's going around.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I have talked to crazy people. Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm not crazy.
I'm not saying you are. I never would. Bonnie, I would never say that, especially since you've already agreed to bring Ken and I some of that Jack Fire from the Jack Daniels distillery up to Murfreesboro tomorrow.
And I was a stand-in for Elizabeth Taylor in 1993. Thank you.
What?
White Diamonds, a Queen Mary ship.
Oh, wow. Well,
I was.
My
yes,
goodness.
I was for Elizabeth Arden. I have the contract. I can show it.
I believe you. You don't have to prove anything to me. I believe it. So,
but I have fun calling in and talking to you. You're funny.
Well, you're very kind. And I please keep calling in. I love talking to you as well.
You remind me of Phil Valentine.
That is the sweetest thing anybody could say to me, Bonnie.
Yes, I cried when that happened with him.
That is very sweet. Wow.
But that's what I want to say. I can't believe the hurricane, when it hits land, it usually slows down. And that sucker kept going all the way and dumped a bunch of water.
So we're, okay, Bonnie, you keep listening. Yeah. Come see us tomorrow, okay? I got to take a short break, but I'm gonna. You turn on your radio, and I'm going to talk about this theory coming back from the break, okay?
I can't turn my radio on. I'm outside.
All right. All right. Well, I'll put you on hold then. You can listen on the radio. You can listen on hold, Bonnie. Bonnie, listen in Tullahoma. Come see us tomorrow. Weaver and I aren't asking for Jack Fire or Jack Honey, but we wouldn't turn it down, I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't. And that said,
Weaver's got to be careful on that Jack Fire.
I can't have anything. I can't have anything tomorrow, by the way. I already had a guy calling me asking me, he hit me up on social media asking me if he could buy me a beer. I said, I can't have anything.
You're working.
I'm working. I got to be on my best behavior. So, Bonnie, come and see us tomorrow in Murfreesboro. I wish you well in Tullahoma, and I am going to talk about that theory, which Bonnie, I'm going to disappoint you here. There's a long laundry list of things that I hold the Biden administration responsible for. Hurricanes are not on that list as of yet. Let's find out after the break if I'll put them on there right at the end. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The death toll from Hurricane Helene stands at 120, and we'll tell you what former President Trump just told a bunch of Georgians, also impacted by this killer storm. Coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, so many roadways impacted, so many bridges out, obviously homes gone, families and lives impacted dramatically, and lives lost. 120 people now, the total dead as a result of Hurricane Helene. If you're not sure or are unfamiliar with what Bonnie was referring to, I've got it. This is what Bonnie is making reference to with regard to Hurricane Helene.
Was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just the result of natural processes and climate patterns, or was it manipulated? The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NEXRAD network of transmitter installations. All available science evidence makes clear that atmospheric frequency transmissions can and do have a repelling effect on air masses, especially if and when the air masses have been seeded with electrically conductive nanoparticles. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be. Where there are no blue flashes, there is no transmission, thus no repelling effect, thus no resistance for a migrating storm. Translation: a migrating storm will be hindered from moving toward frequency transmissions and will easily migrate in a direction with no transmissions.
All right.
So again, I ask, was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just an act of nature, or was it engineered? You decide.
Okay, I've decided.
What? Hold on.
I've decided.
Hold on. Let me find it. I forgot what I did with it.
I've decided. Is that the wheel of crazy?
Go.
No. No, it was not biologically or electrically engineered in a laboratory. No, it wasn't. Or anywhere. I don't. We do not have the ability to control aspects of nature that would make a hurricane. We cannot tell a hurricane to go in a particular direction.
So on one hand, they're telling us this is the result of climate change. Then on the other hand, this guy says we can affect the weather, but we're not doing it.
We live in a moment in time, and I don't think we're ever going back from it, where if you want to create an alternate theory about freaking anything, you can find it on the internet. And you can have supportive data for you. Oh, look at all this data. We cherry-picked the data, and we figured out that 9/11 was an inside job, and George W. Bush pulled the buildings down himself.
Did you know that JFK actually shot Reagan?
Well, after shooting himself. JFK's death was a suicide, and I've got videos to prove it. I mean,
that's why I just cover the news, boys.
So, Bonnie, God love you, and call anytime and present any theory. I'm not against any presentation of any theory whatsoever. But if you're asking me if I believe that Hurricane Helene was somehow manipulated into going into the areas where it went, I'm going to go ahead and say I pass on that theory. Thank you very much. I do not pass on the news, however. Ken Weaver's got it on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Glenn Jacobs coming up next.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes, and the death toll stands at 120 from Hurricane Helene. Here in Tennessee, the death toll is 4. 62 people still missing in Washington County. 47 missing in Unicoi County. President Biden speaking from the White House today.
I'm here to tell every single survivor in these impacted areas that we will be there with you as long as it takes.
Former President Trump visiting hard-hit Valdosta, Georgia, saying he brought trucks filled with relief supplies and gas.
We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved. We need a lot of help. They have to have a lot of help down here.
Here in Tennessee, as of yesterday, 27 sections of TDOT roadway are closed, including 14 state bridges. And of those 14 state bridges, 5 of them are completely gone. In a town east of Atlanta, 17,000 people still worried about returning to their homes after a massive fire at a nearby chemical plant forced them from their homes this weekend. Sharon Webb is the director of the Rockdale County Emergency Management Agency, who says there's still smoke coming from the building and the evacuation order remains.
Right now, it is a precaution. We do have EPA and EPD on scene right now, and until we get a reading of what the actual plume is, but yes, precautionary, being proactive to make sure everyone's safe.
Verizon says it's working to restore service after hundreds of thousands of its users reported service issues this morning. Customers unable to send calls or texts. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. You've heard me talking with Brink Fiddler, the owner of Defense Systems, quite a bit. Tracy, Gloria, Adam, and the rest of the Defense Systems team, all there for you. Now, they want to make sure that you understand that the likelihood of a workplace violence event, the likelihood of you going through something like this is very, very low, but it's not zero, which is why I like to say hope is not a plan. It's time to get trained with Defense Systems. They offer, easy for me to say, active shooter response training, workplace violence prevention, site survey and threat assessment, security consultation, and all of it is designed for your facility, all designed and customized for you in your place of business, your school, your church, or any other people or any other place that people gather. So give them a call today at 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or go online to defensesystems.com. That's defensesystems.com. Supertalk 99.7 WTN. I am amazed at the number of Supertalk listeners that are joining me on the membersnutrition.com super text line to suggest that they believe that this hurricane was manipulated by them. It's always they and them, and I'm trying to figure out who they and them would be. I'm going to put that on the back burner for a moment because we have a very special guest on the line to update us on the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. However you believe that it occurred, it rained devastation down throughout Georgia. Obviously, the panhandle of Florida got popped with the most ferocious of winds. They are a little better able to handle it. Georgia, Valdosta, Statesboro, Savannah, Augusta, my hometown of Thompson, Georgia, got some devastating rain and wind. They will be without power for a long time. And then, of course, North Carolina and into the state of Tennessee. To speak about that matter, we welcome back to the show Mayor Glenn Jacobs. It is always a pleasure to have Glenn with us, and I appreciate him spending a bit of time with us on this incredibly busy day for him. Glenn, good afternoon. I hope you're well.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
It is a pleasure. Tell me the current state in Knox County. Are you guys okay over there?
Yeah, Knox County's okay. We had some high water. Some of our roads were closed, not many, just 3 or 4. Probably we'll have a handful of homes which have water in them, which obviously is a big deal for those particular individuals. But we saw nothing like what we saw in Upper East Tennessee, in Carter County, Greene County, and then our neighbors in Cott County, which is about 50 miles east of Knox County. They're devastated. In fact, we're on our way up there right now to see if there's any way we can help and what we can do.
We know that the death toll has topped 100. It's now at 120, and at least 4 of those deaths are in Tennessee, but there are many missing folks. Just speak to me about some of the areas you just mentioned, a little bit east of where you are in Knoxville, but where you're going. Those are places, while not getting quite the attention of North Carolina, the devastation is obviously present, if not equal to what we see in North Carolina, is it not?
Oh yeah. It's terrible. There's footage coming out from Upper East Tennessee in Unicoi, where people had evacuated their hospital. They're on the rooftop. Helicopters from Tennessee Highway Patrol, as well as our own Knox County Sheriff's Office, were airlifting people off of the roof there. Our Sheriff's Office also helped with airlifting people off the roofs in Cott County. My family has a place on Douglas Lake, which is in Jefferson County, which is between Cott and Knox County. TVA is, trying to release the water upstream, so it's coming here. I've never seen this lake so high. Douglas Dam is releasing like 66,000 cubic feet of water per second. I've never seen anything like it. In Cott County, their water purification plant is down. There's no electricity. A lot of folks in Cott County are on wells. Wells need well pumps in order to get the water up out of the ground, and that takes electricity, and there's no electricity. Sadly, they don't expect electricity to be restored for at least a couple weeks, so those folks are without clean drinking water. That's one of the things that we're really trying to do, is get bottled water up to Cott County overall, but it's a horrible, heart-wrenching situation up here in Upper East Tennessee.
A lot of discussion about our roadways, Glenn, and what can you tell us about the latest you've heard about I-40 just east of you, past the 81 split? We understand that it is closed due to some major devastation of that interstate highway, and we've heard of several other bridges in the state of Tennessee, obviously all on the eastern portion, that have been taken out. What do you know?
Sure. So the eastbound lanes of I-40 going into North Carolina are gone. There's only the westbound lanes left. They literally slid off the side of the mountain. I have a contact with TDOT who estimates that for state routes, it's going to cost about $300 million to repair, have a number of bridges that have been washed out, just roads that are completely gone.
And, I don't want to keep you too long, Glenn, because I know everything's fluid, and the most important thing is getting help to our neighbors that need it. For those of us in Nashville and Middle Tennessee, what can you say about what East Tennessee needs most, and how can we help?
Right now, again, it's supplies like water, hygiene products. There'll be a need for canned food, all those things that are just necessary for survival. You can check various social media sites, including my own, for where to take those. If folks want to make monetary donations, obviously we have the Red Cross, Salvation Army. There's also the East Tennessee Foundation. Their website is easttennesseefoundation.org. Anything that people could do would be greatly appreciated.
And what is the best estimate that you've heard about power? Do we have any idea when we might be talking about getting power back up and running for some of these affected areas?
Yeah, man, as you said, it's a very fluid situation. Until the majority of the roads are fixed, the power's not going to go back on because obviously the crews can't get out for that. I'm hearing at least 2 weeks, perhaps longer on that.
Oh, my goodness. Glenn, keep us up to date. I know you're incredibly busy. You're gracious to spend some time with us in Nashville, helping us understand what we need to do to help, and we'll take you up on that and donate. Give us the organization again. Did you say East Tennessee what?
East Tennessee Foundation. The website is easttennesseefoundation.org. Again, appreciate anything that everybody could do. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you much, Glenn. Glenn is on the road. He is leaving for Cocke County as we speak, trying to help those affected and impacted to the east of his area over in Knox County, and just puts a little bit of dramatic emphasis, if you will, on a very, very serious situation. It's difficult for me, and I understand there's lots of other matters to talk about. We have, we have got a lot of things going on, but it is difficult to me to entertain other subjects when I know that our fellow Tennesseans are suffering, that our fellow Southerners are suffering. And despite the best efforts of some individuals trying to alleviate some of that suffering, sadly, the federal government brings money and regulation. It brings money and problems. It brings money, and none of this money is real. It's all made up. It brings money, and it brings a structural impasse that makes it next to impossible for people to do the things that they want to do to try to help. Now,
you can also make the argument that it's bringing back money that it took from the state to begin with.
Well, I used to make that argument, yes. Sadly, what argument that I would make is that all money spent by FEMA is fake money that is made up because the federal government owes itself almost 35 trillion.
No, it's over 35.
Is it 35 now? 35 trillion. I got to reset. $35 trillion to itself. And so any and all of this money, yes, we can make the case that does it come from the taxpayers? Sure. Does it come from made-up sources, which will ultimately lead to the demise of the American people? Yes, that's true, too. There's going to be a time where there is no more FEMA. There's going to be a time where there is no more free money, and we'll have to deal with these natural disasters, kind of the way that we used to. But I'm not here to fight that fight today. But I will say this. Sadly, the government is preventing people from offering aid. Listen to this, gentleman. This is just an anecdotal example of what we're talking about.
When I tell y'all I'm super frustrated at the moment is not a lie. For the past 48 hours, I had planned to go to East Tennessee, Irwin, Newport, and all that tomorrow.
By the way, this is a gentleman online. I don't know the background of this individual, but he has resources available to him that he wanted to make available to Mid-Tennessee. Now, I use this as an example of people trying to help. There are thousands of these people out there. Secondarily, Bell, just be on the lookout. There's a curse word at the end of this clip. I don't think there are any curses in the midst of the portion that I'm going to play, but I've only previewed it once.
And for the last 48 hours, I've also been on the phone with EMA, operational people, trying to see who may need my thermal drone most and whoever I could assist better.
This guy has a thermal drone that he wants to make available to people that need them to go over areas affected by the storm and to see if there's a heat signature that would indicate that there's human life there. He's offering this to anyone that needs it, and he's being told that he is not allowed to do so by the government.
And then I get a phone call and an email where we're being told to stand down. I've also spoken to rescue crews that are there right now. And it's one thing I'll say about social media. Most people know, and somebody knows somebody and they see somebody. I've had emails where I've had a woman named Laura ask for help. Her brother got swept away. They have a video of him being swept away, and she's just asking for help to get him. And yet we're being told to stand down.
Why is the federal government telling anyone that's trying to offer help to stand down? Now, once again, I understand that they feel the need to structure it in such a way where you prevent looters, you prevent stealing. We saw the story about the 8 individuals that are believed to be illegal aliens in Washington County. That's up in the northeast corner of the state of Tennessee. That's around, Bristol, Johnson City area, that sort of thing. They were caught looting. And I understand you got to keep out looters. But helpers?
Have heard from people, Danielle and Alex, no offense to y'all, I've heard from these 2 people about how he went to take generators and supplies there and he was turned down. The water, food, stuff like that, turned down. Why? You have people that really need things. And I get it. It's such a disarray. I understand this was all so fast. But at the end of the day, man, putting a halt to everything while there's people's lives at stake that are sitting out there somewhere that don't have anything, that may be trapped, may be hurt, and you're asking people to stand down that have the capabilities to help somebody, it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. The over-regulatory nature of the government. And the reason I told the story in the 12 o'clock hour, in the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, that in the most disastrous situation that I've ever been a part of, I saw people coming together. Was it chaos? Yes. Was it discombobulated? Yes. Was it disarray? Yes. Did it work? Yes. I was so proud to be a part of a group effort on the part of a number of radio stations and some of our fine sponsors in Birmingham that I'm not over-exaggerating. I promise you I'm not. There's plenty of evidence that would corroborate what I'm about. We gathered 10 tractor trailer loads of supplies and sent them to various parts of Alabama in the 2 weeks in the aftermath of the tornadoes. Now, when I say we, I mean Alabama. I mean the people of the state of Alabama, the good people that happen to be listening to a collection of radio stations or got word that we were making those collected donations. And this was in advance of FEMA taking over. And when FEMA takes over, they stop all third-party donations because they can't guarantee that those donations are coming. I mean, they make all the excuses in the world. It's beyond me. They make the perfect the enemy of the good.
This is one of those times where I think it is both ethical and moral to ignore permission and ask forgiveness if you need to.
I don't understand the regulatory bureaucracy of government insisting that we follow red tape while lives are at stake in the immediate aftermath. Now, you can 3-4 weeks down the road, if you want to keep certain people out of certain areas because of the danger. I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand their desire to make sure that they don't make the bad worse. But this kind of stuff, I don't know, man.
Make it make sense. I don't understand. Now, if you was going to tell me, hey, the military's coming in here, Coast Guard's coming in here, they're in here immediately, maybe it would. Maybe I'm missing something.
Maybe I'm missing something too. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. There's no United States military. There's no National Guard. I mean, maybe there will be. In the 72 hours, we are, how many times have I said to you guys, we are the first responders. We should be. That's the way our system is set up. That if my neighbor's house is on fire, the first person that should help my neighbor is not the fire guy. It's not the police. It's me. As far and as best as I can. It's me. It's neighbors helping neighbors. And now, not only, and I don't expect the federal government to be everywhere in every instance. Far from it. If you want a government that is in every aspect of your life, you need to move to North Korea or to China. That's not the way that we operate, right? But I have a hard time understanding why the government has decided that the first action that it's going to take in any given situation of a natural nature like this is to tell the good people trying to help to stand down. 52 after the hour. It is Super Talk 99.7. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here. It can be hard to find someone you trust for your air conditioning or your heater. If you think about it, the heater and the air conditioner, they're the same thing, right? They're the same product. They do the same thing. They just do it in different ways. One is designed to condition the air to a cooler degree. The other is designed to condition the air to a warmer degree. And if you've not used that heater for a while, it's probably collected dust and dander and other nastiness on it. And the last thing you want is that blowing out of your vents. How about a maintenance call with Efficient Heating and Cooling? Jeff Eddy will bring out one of his qualified technicians, and for less than $125, it's a guarantee. Never over $125 for a maintenance call. No matter how many heating units you might have at your residence, they'll cover them all with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Oftentimes, it's much less than that. It's much less than a repair call, I can tell you that, and you want to avoid that, especially when the time comes where the conditions get very, very cool. Call Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're the name that I trust. Jeff Eddy and his team are an elite pro partner with Rheem, and when the time comes, they'd love to talk to you about a replacement. EfficientHVAC.net, EfficientHVAC.net, or call 615-784-4424 for Efficient.
Hurricane Helene death toll rising. Former President Trump in one of the hardest hit areas. Hear from him and President Biden coming up at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. It's a team approach. You'll hear from those two during Ken Weaver's newscast. And right after Ken Weaver's newscast, Senator Marsha Blackburn will join the show to update us on what she has seen. She was in the air over the weekend along with Governor Bill Lee, touring some of the devastation, some of the damage, and how can we help? We'll find out. Plus, I will entertain your calls on your conspiracy theory that this was man-made for a moment. Maybe I will. You know what? You'll have to tune in the 2 o'clock hour and see how I feel about it all, because I'm not really sure myself right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's time for Ken Weaver in the news. Stand by.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And the death toll from Hurricane Helene, it keeps growing, now at 121 across several states, including Tennessee. President Biden spoke today from the White House.
President Biden says he expects to travel south to survey damage from Hurricane Helene later this week, saying he wants to get to the impacted areas as soon as possible, likely Wednesday or Thursday. But he says given the security detail and staff that are required to travel with him wherever he goes, what he called his entourage, he doesn't want to take away from the ongoing recovery efforts.
I've been told that it would be disruptive if I did it right now. We will not do that at the risk of diverting or delaying any of the response assets needed to deal with this crisis.
Former President Trump's in hard-hit Valdosta, Georgia.
Valdosta has been ravaged. The town is very, very badly hurting, and many thousands are without power. They're running low on food and fuel. We brought a lot of it down with us. It's going to be distributed now or soon throughout Georgia, as well as North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee.
Here in Tennessee, the death toll is 4. More than 150 people are unaccounted for across several counties in East Tennessee. And the Mideast wars are raging on. Here's Karen Travers.
The U.S. expects Israel to imminently begin a limited ground operation into Lebanon that would be targeted in order to clear out Hezbollah infrastructure near Israeli border communities and then pull their forces back. That's according to a senior U.S. official. President Biden was asked Monday morning if he's comfortable with Israel's plans.
I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now.
A man charged with trying to kill former President Trump at Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club faced arraignment in federal court this morning. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The arraignment lasted just 5 minutes. Through his attorneys, Ryan Ruth pleaded not guilty to each of the 5 counts against him. Those charges include attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, a count that could lead to a life term in federal prison. The case now heads to the courtroom of Judge Eileen Cannon, who dismissed the classified documents case against Trump in a ruling over the summer that the Justice Department now aims to overturn on appeal.
With the holiday shopping season looming, the nation's retailers are hoping a strike by dock workers on the Gulf Coast and the Eastern Seaboard can be averted.
It's estimated that a strike would cost somewhere around $5 billion a day.
That is Margaret Kidd, the Director of Supply Chain and Logistics at the University of Houston. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Matt Murphy. Did you know, gentlemen, that you can lose up to 50% of your hair before you notice that your hair is going out? My hair was thinning a little bit around the crown, and I wanted to prevent that. Now, for those of you who watch on Super Talk TV, you know my hair is long as it's been in a long, long time. And part of the reason is the FDA-approved laser treatments that I've received through PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair people. It is there to ensure that I don't have hair loss in the future. I did it in a preventative way. But if you're already losing your hair, if you've noticed it, if you've been losing your hair for a while, they have many different types of treatment available for you. They're the only clinic in Nashville with all of the proven medical solutions, including their trademarked procedure, the multi-unit hair grafting procedure, as well as the ARTIS FUE robotic hair transplant procedure. Results are guaranteed. I'll say it again. Results are guaranteed. Go to WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com, or call 615-376-6010. Do it right now and restore your hair today at We Grow Hair. All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Hour number 3 starts right now, 2:06, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've decided to join us. Obviously, a lot of politics going on around the globe and around the country, what with the vice presidential debate happening tomorrow night. When we initially talked with the good people in Senator Marsha Blackburn's office last week, our plan was to discuss primarily the vice presidential debate tomorrow night, where we are as a nation, and the fact that we have only 35 more days left before it is Election Day on November 5th. But obviously, circumstances have changed quite a bit. I know that Senator Marsha Blackburn has been touring the devastated areas of the state of Tennessee, including Newport and other areas in East and North Tennessee. And she is here to talk about that and what we can do to help primarily, and maybe we'll get to politics right after. Senator Blackburn, good to talk with you first and foremost, and thank you for being on with us today.
Thank you, Matt. Happy to join you, and you are right. I was out with the governor and Butch Ely, who heads TDOT, and Patrick Sheehan from TEMA, and we spent a good bit of time on Saturday surveying all through the affected areas, and I have never seen such devastation. It is truly catastrophic, and we're working as hard as we can. I was just on the phone with a mayor in one of the counties, and we're trying to get all the help in to them as quickly as possible. Governor Lee did his disaster declaration request Friday afternoon late, and I assembled all the congressional delegation, and we got the congressional request in simultaneously with his, and by 9:30 Friday night, that had been approved, and FEMA was activated to come in and support TEMA. So that is happening. FEMA is beginning to show up in areas, and they are they're on the ground helping. They're calling these mayors. They're setting up locations that they can help these individuals, help business owners. Now, we have put on our website, the blackburn.senate.gov website, a page that has resources for Helene. You get to this by putting in blackburn.senate.gov/Helene, and all the agency information, the contact information, everything is there on that page. And if you have someone, if your audience has someone who is a family member or a friend in East Tennessee, put there, you can go there and get information to help them. If you have not heard from an individual that you're trying to find and they live in one of these affected counties, I encourage you, go to 1-800-TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI FIND, FIND. We got that line set up on Saturday night. The TBI is helping to locate people. So if you have someone you've not heard of, put it there. There are individuals that do not have internet access. I know that Starlink, Verizon, AT&T are all working to get service restored. Our electric power distributors are trying to get electricity and get lines back up. And as water recedes, they're going to be able to do even more of that work. So, Matt, that's kind of a synopsis. I know it's a lengthy
Well, that's a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously there's so much going on right now, and we just talked to Mayor Glenn Jacobs from over in Knox County, and he was headed to Cott County and some of the other more dramatically affected areas to try to help out too. And I said to him, and I'll say to you, I understand that all of this is fluid, and I don't expect we have answers of finality right now, but. Do we, to your knowledge, do we still have people in like immediate need of rescue, or have those types of things been nailed down, at least in Tennessee? I know the situation is a little more dramatic across the border in North Carolina, particularly in the Asheville area and, the Chimney Rock area. But in Tennessee, do we believe that we have stabilized the situation in terms of the possibility of loss of life?
We are still finding individuals. There are still individuals that are missing. I was on the phone about an hour ago with an employer. An employer up there has about 100 employees. There are, 3 that are still missing. There are 2 that are confirmed dead. I was talking with someone from a bank, and they can't open the banks because they don't have power. But you can't buy gas at a gas station unless you've got cash, because the credit cards, the power's down. So you've got situations like that. Cott County, Representative Faison, who lives up there, and the mayor, I talked with someone this morning. They're flying in water and food, and they can get as far as Knoxville, and then they've got somebody who's going to put it into a truck and a trailer and take it the rest of the way into Newport, so that they can get this into people that are without food and water. So that is, that's kind of what we've got going on right now. And if you want to help, those resources are at blackburn.senate.gov/Helene. The need is, it is unbelievable. And these are individuals that, and they're business owners and their families. I mean, it's all up. There is going to be great need. But I got to tell you, Matt, the foundations of the houses were not even there. The location where the business had stood is not even there. Fire halls, fire trucks, everything. The river was so out of its bank, so deep and raging so hard, it was just all washed away. And of course, we were just so relieved when the helicopters could get people off the roof at the Unicoi County Hospital. And you think about that hospital. It was a new hospital. I'd just been there a couple of months ago. The mayor wanted to do their county meeting there since it was new, and we all had celebrated getting that facility up there, and now they've got to bulldoze it and start over.
Senator Marshall Blackburn with us for a few more minutes, obviously touring the devastation over the weekend with Governor Bill Lee, amongst other officials, trying to get an assessment of what's going on. We've gotten several reports, and I don't know that there's an answer for this, Senator, but I just want to ask you your advice. We've gotten several reports from people in Middle Tennessee and in Knoxville and certain areas just to the east of us that have wanted to go help, that have help available in the form of thermal drones and other water-based help and these types of things, that are reporting that they're being turned away by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or being turned away by other officials. And it's frustrating to them. And I understand, I get it. I understand that we have to balance safety. We have to balance security. We have to make sure that we prevent bad people trying to take advantage of bad situations. But what's your best advice to those who are trying to help physically their neighbors in East Tennessee right now?
Yeah, I would be in touch with these local sheriffs and county mayors and, let them know that they are here and able. And, of course, TEMA and FEMA take charge and coordinate everything in a disaster like this. And we're hearing from so many people that do want to get in and help in some way, shape, or form, whether it's water, food, being there to provide relief. I know some of the sheriff's offices and police departments have people that are going up and try to provide some shift relief. I spoke this morning to our emergency 911 dispatchers, and some of them from around the state are going to rotate in. So there are going to be people that are coordinating all this. The thing is, Matt, it happens so fast. I mean, Friday morning, nobody ever thought about something like this. And by Friday afternoon, we're all working at a fever pitch to get an emergency declaration and people off the roof of a hospital and save people from these waters that are rising so quickly that it's almost impossible to even imagine. And so I think it just happened so quickly. I would check with people who are coordinating these rescue sites, and recovery sites are going up. FEMA is getting on the ground for help. As I said, TEMA is our state coordinator, and they are working. TDOT is out there trying to assess roads. And I was talking with one mayor, and they had been afraid a bridge was going to end up being condemned, and they found out just a little bit ago that a bridge to the south end of their county is going to be able to have cars, and so that's going to open up one area. They're going to be able to get supplies in to help those people who have basically been without and have been isolated since Friday, because the water is too steep to get a boat in the water. It's raging too fast.
Well, no, it's good advice. Contacting local officials, I would think, would facilitate a better response. Oftentimes, the higher up you go, sadly to say, I mean, they're thinking more big picture, and I'm not saying these are bad people making these decisions, but if you get more local, then perhaps you can get better boots on the ground, and neighbors can continue to help neighbors as they've done. Any other advice for us? I mean, I hesitate to talk any politics today, Marcia. I mean, I know we're initially talking vice presidential debate. We both expect that our man, J.D. Vance, will take care of business tomorrow night. But any other further advice for people who want to help, or for those who perhaps are even in need listening to us in East Tennessee?
Go to the website, blackburn.senate.gov/Helene. People can also check with the Red Cross. They are getting supplies and trying to coordinate supplies going into there, and continue to pray. There are a lot of people that are still missing, and there are people that are still stranded, and there are people who have lost loved ones.
That's well said. Senator, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We'll talk to you again very soon.
You got it.
All right, take care. There's Marcia Blackburn. Continue to pray. I mean, that's the best thing you can say. Look, I know that there's a general frustration. I asked the question regarding FEMA and how they come in and attempt to overmanage a situation. I think they over-regulate a situation. Lawyers get involved. The bureaucracy gets involved, and suddenly they're more worried about lawsuits than they are lives. They're more worried about lawsuits than lives. Here's what I would tell you that Marcia will not. Okay, and I'm not faulting her. This is not a shot. Contact your local people and then get in there and help people the way that you can. And to hell with FEMA. To hell with FEMA. And if you're being helped by FEMA, good for you. Understand the spirit that I mean that. You need to get people to people that need help. Bureaucracy and red tape be damned. It's 20 minutes after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy here, and we are talking Glock store, baby. The Glock store they're so awesome. Everybody at the Glock store wants to have a wonderful party coming up a few nights from, or tomorrow night, not even a few nights from now. And so, in that spirit, they have become the premier sponsor of our vice presidential debate watch party. We're having this Tuesday, October 1st, tomorrow night at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. You've heard me talking about that. Well, do you know that the Glock store and their love of parties has extended to our party? And now the Glock store, they're giving away a number of raffle items, which are pretty dadgum cool. Third prize is their tactical rehydration mug. One of their tactical rehydration mugs would look great in your shelf, on your shelf, or for you in the automobile. Their second prize will be the 3-session range card, which is pretty cool, giving you some lane time at the incredible Shoot 270 range. And then first prize, a Glock 43X MOS. It is the most popular Glock in the country, and if you don't have one, I know I do, but if you don't, you can win one. And they'll announce it Wednesday morning right here on the Matt Murphy Show. Lenny Miguel's going to stop by and make that announcement. It's glockstore.com or shoot270.com. Come on out and see us at the big debate party, and be sure to enter the raffle to win. It's happening tomorrow night, thanks to the Glock store.
Hurricane Helene death toll keeps rising in Tennessee and several other states. The latest coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Ken Weaver. It is 2:24 right now, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around. Appreciate you. Hey, Belle, how's it going in there?
Hello.
How am I sounding in there? My volume was very low for me. I know you don't pay attention to me in there.
No, that has nothing to do with the show.
Sorry.
Your volume has always been constant for me. It seems to be wonky on your end.
Very loud. I'm very loud. I think that's why. I need to calm it down a little bit.
Well, there's good reason to be energized today.
By the way, that's true. Away from, and it's hard to get away from Hurricane Helene, at least for me. I mean, such an impact in South Georgia. I mean, my brother, I'll give you another example, a personal story, and we all probably have some because most of us know somebody over in Georgia or you know somebody that lives in East Tennessee. I've had story after story come in on the membersnutrition.com super text line, 615-737-9986, by the way. My brother thought that my niece was traveling in from Statesboro to be with him in Columbus, Georgia. That's where my brother lives. And I, of course, am asking around on Saturday, everybody okay? Everybody doing well? How's things going? And I didn't hear back from my brother. And I had not thought to directly go to Clara, my niece. And then eventually he gets back to me and says, I can't get a hold of Clara. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not good. He said she was heading over here, and then she got stymied heading over here. They didn't realize, I don't think they quite understood in Statesboro and even Valdosta the speed and the impact that it would have that far inland. And so all of the gas stations were down. So Clara eventually, and this just shows you, and I think it can offer us a lesson for all of you dads out there, and most of you already know this. I'm not here to talk down to you. But my brother, who is a great dad and who has done great teaching, and I mean, he's taught his daughter well, trust me. But he was like, well, do you have a gas can? And she said no. And he said, okay. And she waited in line. She was trying to get home from Statesboro, and somewhere outside of Statesboro, she found a gas station that was open. Because all of Statesboro was out of power. And, of course, the gas pumps don't operate from any of these stations without power. And then finally she found a place, and she waited in line for an hour and a half to get gas. And then when she got up to the pump, she only then realized that they only took cash, and she had no cash. And that what you just said there, and I saw that. That's what she said, I think. Did you say, oh, duck? That's what I thought you said.
I did.
That's what she said. So she had barely enough gas, and this is the scenario that was happening. She had barely enough gas to try to turn around. She's like 40 miles outside of Statesboro. She tries to turn around. She's got to go back to her apartment at Statesboro now. Not sure if she could get there. She didn't. She ran out of gas, and then her fiance has to come pick her up, and he doesn't have a gas can either, and it's craziness. And eventually my brother has to go down there with a couple of gas cans and some extra gas and then by that time, Saturday evening into yesterday morning, the power came back on, thankfully, at their apartment. And several of the gas stations, grocery stores and whatnot also got power back up and running. But it's that level of confusion. Folks, when the power goes out, for whatever reason that the power might go out, sadly, we are less than prepared. Many of us, especially many within our younger generation, are less than prepared for what to do if they don't have access to their phone, if they don't have access to their debit cards, if they don't have access to immediate goods and services, and if they don't have access to information. Everybody should have a gas can. And I'm not a doomsday prepper, but you got to be prepared for a week without power, right? At least, I would hope. This is a reminder of that, you know, when the lights go out, when the power goes out, eventually the phone's going to go off and you don't have access to information without it. So what do? Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, you better have an emergency communication device in the form of a transistor radio with some batteries in it so that you can pick up radio signals, 99.7. I was told that in North Carolina, they began utilizing ham radio as a way because so many of the towers were knocked down. The radio stations were not able to operate, even with their transmitters up and running. If you don't have a tower, you can't get it anywhere. And even with generators that would operate them or allow them to operate without power. 0272 said, nobody gave that girl some cash for gas. I would have. I don't know. I don't know if she asked 0272. Honestly, I I didn't talk to Claire that much. I know I sent her some money for food because all of their food went out. 0394 said, Matt, maybe a dumb question, but if the power is out, how do the gas pumps work? Well, I don't know that many of them do. Some of the, you know what, it is a good question because some of the gas pumps operate on a pressure situation. Some are electrical in nature. But I can promise you this, I can siphon gas out of a gasoline container without electricity.
Yeah. Just got to be careful.
My grandpa used to have a hose that was used specifically for that purpose, Ken Weaver.
Yeah.
If we were out and about, and he was a heavy equipment mechanic, and a lot of times we did work out in the middle of nowhere, and if he needed gasoline for any number of purposes, gasoline was good to wash parts. Gasoline was good to kill fire ants. Gasoline was also good to put in whatever a piece of equipment that he happened to be working on to see if it was operational. And most of that gas came in the form of siphoning it out of his gas tank, which involved a length of hose about 6 feet long and some suction.
Yep.
But you just got to get off it when you feel wet.
Yes.
But, I mean, no, I cannot. Bell's laughing. Ken, I cannot tell you the number of times that I watched my grandpa spit out a mouthful of gas.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched one of my grandpas do it one time. I think I watched my dad do it one time.
Oh, come on, man. You just got to know it. You just got to feel it. You got to know when it's coming and get off it. Get off that hose.
Yeah.
Get off that hose before you get a mouthful.
Well, you can hear it coming, too.
That's right.
You can hear it.
You know when you got the suction going. You know when you got the flow happening. And when you got it going, get off it.
Yeah.
That's the big key. But, yeah, I mean, it's just a reminder to have some emergency cash on hand, to have some emergency resources on hand, and always keep that transistor radio handy. I know that it sounds like antiquated technology when you got I got my phone with my internet streaming, guys. I got my YouTube TV so I can see Ken Weaver do the news. I don't even have to watch him I can watch him do the news. I don't have to listen. Well, you better have that radio handy in case we lose the lights. It is 30 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes. The death toll from Hurricane Helene keeps growing. We're now at least 121 across several states, including Tennessee. And just got an update on the dire situation in East Tennessee. U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn telling WTN's Matt Murphy Show.
We are still finding individuals. There are still individuals that are missing.
Yeah, according to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, more than 150 people are unaccounted for across several counties in East Tennessee. Now, the TBI believes that many are safe, just unable to identify themselves due to limited cell service and infrastructure damage. President Biden calling for an immediate end to the fighting in the Middle East. The comment came in response to a question about whether the president is aware of and comfortable with Israel's plan for a limited ground operation in Lebanon.
I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now.
More U.S. troops, meanwhile, headed that way. The Pentagon saying, quote, a few thousand more troops in case we need to help defend Israel. Verizon says it is aware of an issue with service for its customers, says engineers are engaged and working quickly to identify and solve the issue. Complaints to Verizon's verified account on X show that hundreds of thousands of customers have been frustrated by a lack of cell service and an inability to connect to the network. And a fire at a biolab facility east of Atlanta is out, but the evacuation orders stand because Sharon Webb, director of the Rockdale County Emergency Management Agency, told us.
Right now, it is a precaution. We do have EPA and EPD on scene right now, and until we get a reading of what the actual plume is, but yes, precautionary, being proactive to make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah, she says even though the flames are out, there's still smoke coming from that facility. And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin, and they would love to see you wherever you are within the sound of my voice. If you're in pain, let me tell you, the Dr. Gill Center can help. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been around for well over 3 decades now. Dr. Gill started the center with the idea that he wanted to be a chiropractic care center that you could depend on and trust, but also more than just that, which is why he brought in the technologies that so many use nowadays, like spinal decompression. He's brought in the red light therapy. He's brought in the Class 5 laser system. This is all designed to help alleviate the pain wherever it hurts: back, neck, knee, hip, elbow, anywhere that it hurts on your body. They have a program to help you without having to pop pills, without having to take injections to block the pain, and without having to consider surgery. Let's get with the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief today. I know you'll be happy you did. 615-882-4838, 615-882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Many phone calls to get to. And I appreciate all of you. Brian Wilson coming up in mere minutes with the drive this afternoon. Obviously, focusing our attention on Hurricane Helene, the aftermath of Hurricane Helene today. Politics is there. Obviously, we've got a lot going on in the Middle East. We have a lot going on around the country. We have a presidential race that we need Donald Trump to win in 35 days or thereabouts. We'll go a long way toward that. Tomorrow night, vice presidential debate, J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz. You know, they've been hiding Tim Walz. Tim Walz was supposed to be the bulldog. Tim Walz was supposed to be out and about talking about America. And I don't see Tim Walz a lot. I mean, they bring him on stage to, they brought him out in there was a football game, Minnesota, Michigan. That his response versus Trump's response at Bryant-Denny Stadium is pretty funny. You can find this online. The juxtaposition between the boos that Walz received versus the incredible cheers that Donald Trump got as he made an appearance at the Alabama-Georgia game. Something that might have gotten a lot more attention had Georgia won the ball game. By me, anyway. So there's just a lot going on. But I would be remiss if I didn't get to this. If Hank Williams was the 1940s, 50s version, they called Hank Williams the hillbilly Shakespeare, right? That would make Chris Christopherson the Nashville Billy Shakespeare. Chris Christopherson died at the age of 88. What a life well lived over the weekend. I want to play this clip for you. And it's not one of his songs. It was Christopherson several decades ago talking about something else. And it's part of the reason why I think his life should be celebrated today and not mourned. Listen to this.
I had a profound religious experience during the session, something that I had never had happened to me before.
By the way, I should have set it up better. He's talking about writing Why Me? The song Why Me? Why me, Lord? What have I ever done? That's what he's discussing. That was the question that was asked of him.
And Why Me came out of it.
It was a very personal experience then.
Yes, it was everybody was kneeling down, and Jimmy said something like, "If anybody's lost, please raise their hand." And I was kneeling there, and I don't go to church a lot, and the notion of raising my hand was out of the question. And I thought, I can't imagine who's doing this. And all of a sudden I felt my hand going up, and I was hoping nobody else was looking, because everybody had their head bend over, praying. And then he said, if anybody is ready to accept Jesus, something like this, come down to the front of the church. And I thought that would never happen. I found myself getting up and walking down with all these people and going down there, and I don't really know what he said to me. He said something to me like, "Are you ready to accept Jesus Christ in your life," or something? And I said, "I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing there." And he put me down, said, "Kneel down here," and he, I can't even remember what he was saying, but whatever it was such a release for me that I found myself weeping in public, and I felt this forgiveness that I didn't know I even needed.
That's Chris Christopherson talking about his conversion experience many years ago with Ralph Emery. He was sitting with a number of people, including Willie Nelson and several others. I guess they were playing some music. He's got a guitar around his shoulders, a strap around his shoulders, and his harmonica at the ready. Maybe he's about to play Why Me there. But what, for me, makes that clip all the more powerful is Chris Christopherson clearly did not intend to tell that story. And he clearly did not feel necessarily that comfortable telling that story about his experience. But he felt compelled to tell it anyway, in a truthful way. And God bless him, and I know he does. And I know that those of you who are familiar with him mourn him on this earthly coil, but that is great evidence that he's got a great reward going on. So my favorite of all time, and I probably won't be able to get to it, I mean, Loving Her Was Easier Than Anything I'll Ever Do Again is one of the greatest songs written in the last 50 years, in my opinion. That's just one guy's opinion. Greg is next, wants to talk about this crisis. Hey, Greg, I'm glad that you called. Hey, Greg. Greg, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Greg.
Hey, Matt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Greg, we got to go quick. I got a lot of people to get to, but I'm glad to have you on.
Okay.
What's on your mind?
Is there a central location to make donations?
Like the recommended donation point for Mayor Glenn Jacobs was the East Tennessee Foundation.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem, Greg. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be short with you. I was just trying to get to as many as we could. And
that's .org, not .com.
And that's .org. EastTennesseeFoundation.org is an organization that Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Other than that, I mean, look, I understand that some people get concerned about giving to the American Red Cross in these disaster times. That's an obvious place to go to. But give to local and give to those places that you trust, to those charities that you trust. Christopher is next up in McMinnville. Hey, Christopher.
Hey, Matt. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling.
Good. I wanted to bring up something your audience was talking about, the problems they've had with FEMA telling them, like turning them away. Well, I wanted to give them an alternate way to help their neighbors, and that's through the Churches of Christ Disaster Relief Effort, which is based out of Nashville. The way I understand it is they have volunteer truckers and volunteers that will pack supplies and canned goods and other sorts of necessary items, and they'll take them to a church that's located in a disaster area, and they'll distribute them through a local church in that area. And it's kind of interesting because several years ago I heard about this at a church I was at, and the director came from the Churches of Christ Disaster Relief Effort, and he told us that sometimes the Red Cross or FEMA would come around and they would try and make them work through FEMA or the Red Cross, and they said, no, we're not going to do that because we're protected by the First Amendment. So I thought you might like that.
Well,
if you want the website, I can give it to you.
Yeah, sure.
It's disasterreliefeffort.org, so they could do things independently of the federal government.
Christopher, great call and great suggestion. Thank you for making it. I appreciate you. Scott is in Franklin next up. Hey, Scott. Hey, Scott, you there? Scott. Scotty. Beam yourself up, Scotty. Come on, buddy. Scott, I think we're losing. We're losing that signal there. I'll try Eric and Jasper. Hey, Eric, how are you?
Man, how you doing? Up down your old stomping grounds. Hey, if you remember 2014, this big ice storm we had down there.
I do.
What my wife was not a big believer in being prepared until that happened. She now has in the back of her car at least 3 days worth of food, equipment to survive with and stuff like that. It's the same thing. Can I promote a show from your old station?
Yeah, sure.
On Saturdays.
I mean,
99. The security guys, Brady McLaughlin's group, they talk about how to be prepared. It is a great show. I'm on there a lot with them. Brady's wanting me to come on the show, but I can't get a chance sometimes. But they talk about how to be prepared, what to do, and everything. As far as your siphon gas, a lot of these newer cars have an anti-siphon system to them. So what you need to do is get yourself a small siphon that you can hook up to a crank pump or electric, like a drill or something like that. It'll siphon the gas out if you had to. Not that I've ever done something like that. But, I mean, it's really great to have stuff on hand. She's got one in the back of her car just in case. I've got one in the back of the Tahoe. Then again, I got a lot of stuff in the back of my Tahoe. But it's always good to be prepared for anything from floods, tornadoes, hurricanes. Always keep the medical supplies, food in the back of your car at least.
Well, Eric, you're right on target. I got to run right on target, and I appreciate the call out of Jasper, Alabama. No, I know it seems like the small stuff, and it's easy to talk about in the immediate aftermath of a disaster. But just remember these things when there is no disaster around. Those small kits, those emergency kits, so very important to make sure that you're on top of things when disaster might strike. I like to say, everything's fine until it's not, and you don't need it until you do. It's 51 after the hour on Super Talk.
of an eagle when she flies. Turning on the world the way she smiled upon my soul as I lay dying. Healing as the
Do yourself a favor and listen to this song later on tonight. Loving Her Was Easier. That was from 1972, a BBC broadcast. Chris Christopherson lost at the age of 88 over the weekend. Wanted to finish up with that. We turn to Brian Wilson and preview the drive right now. Mr. Wilson, you a Christopherson fan? I bet you were.
I was, and a big fan of the Highwaymen, of which he was a member. There's only one standing Highwayman now, and that would be Willie Nelson.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Think about Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and now Chris Christopherson are gone.
Wow. That's sad. Other sad news over the weekend. Man, this Hurricane Helene, she packed a punch. Ferocious.
There's two things that come to mind. Number one, it is always the water, not the wind, that gets you in these hurricanes. And, when that much water falls from the sky, there's just not much you can do about it. There's no way you can defend against it. You never really know what you're going to have until it starts to happen. More than 100 people lost, and there's many people, by some estimates, 600 people over a number of states that they're still trying to find. They probably, some of those will be okay, but there's just no communications. It's a real mess, and that's the first thought is, this is a big deal, and we need to help out as much as we can for those people who are going through all this. The second thought is that, you never know when this is going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. And so are you ready? I mean, I've got a soundbite from the mayor of Asheville. You know what their major concern is? Drinking water.
Yeah.
They need drinking water desperately. Now, are you prepared to go for 72 hours before the government can get there? Because, it's going to be that long in a big disaster.
I know
them to get there.
I know what we stock up and you just rotate. You take the oldest and use that and resupply with the newest. And no, it's a great piece of advice. Is that where we're going from the top there, Brian?
Yeah, I think I'll start out talking about Helene. I've got some amazing, I think pretty good news for Donald Trump in our 2024 coverage. I think things are starting to shift back his direction, and I'll make that case coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
Absolutely love it. There's Brian Wilson in the drive. He's on the way next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. By the way, a little schedule shift. I'll be here the entire show tomorrow. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. We can't wait. Until then, have a great evening, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.